What's up, everybody? My name is Justin Ortiz. I'm the founder of Operation Go. I'm sitting with a group of parents just to discuss the things that are needed in our school districts, the things that are lacking in our school districts, and just to find out how we can make it better. So I'm here with Will, I'm here with Cecilia, I'm here with Logan, and I'm here with Giselle. So just to start up the conversation, the school system has been the same since the Industrial Revolution. Why do you guys think this is?
Well, I think society is, the Industrial Revolution needed workers. So the education kind of created workers to match that. So they're producing people to go fill those jobs.
Yeah. Is traditional education preparing students for the real world? What are your thoughts about that? We'll start with you, Giselle.
I disagree.
Okay.
I feel like they're actually just still in that same system of, like you said, in the industrial times, and not really adapting to the newer times and the newer demands that we have.
Right.
So
Not a lot of evolution.
no.
Yes, I disagree too. I would like to see schools have more financial literacy,
Yeah.
teach kids at an early age how to manage their bank book, not to get into debt,
Yeah.
how to purchase a house.
Right.
Yeah, things that will generate generational wealth.
Right. Absolutely. How about you?
Yeah, same thing, just learning how the world really works from outside the classroom, what their options really are, and not just being beholden to what's being taught inside of a classroom, a traditional classroom.
So many young men and women are, in many cities are failing, and they're also dropping out of school at record numbers. Why do you think this is, and what can be done to really make an impact and change that?
I feel like it's just a lack of support. It's a lack of support in the school system. Some of these individuals are probably lacking support outside, and that void is not being filled by being in school. Again, it's just that focus of what you can do for America more than what you can do for yourself. So that's really how I look at it.
Absolutely.
Oh, piggybacking off of what she said, lack of mentorship. Yeah, I mean, after school programs, also parent involvement. There's if you have a household where both parents are away and working, then who's monitoring the kids when it comes to their schoolwork?
Right.
Yeah, I think teaching styles too, because there's 30 kids in a classroom, there's one teacher. They don't all learn the same way.
Right.
So, it's hard to tailor that to when there's so many students in a classroom. So having something outside of the class, that can individually be tailored to them, to their interests and, how they learn, can, greatly change a lot of things.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I could imagine some of these teachers may not even be parents themselves. And then I'm raising 2 kids as it is. So then I have to try to learn them and pay attention to them and see, help them grow. Imagine having to do that with 30 kids, like you said, and trying to take care of them. You can't give them that individual time that they need. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think correlation is another big thing. A lot of kids, they look at what they're doing in school right now, and they're saying, well, how is this going to apply to my everyday life? And if it doesn't, especially nowadays, kids don't want to do things that don't make sense, when it comes to school. So
It doesn't keep their attention.
Right. So if you can show them, I feel like if we can show them that, all right, if you're doing math, or if you want to be a mechanic, or if you want to be an engineer, you're going to need this type of math. Or if you want to be in film, you're going to need English literature. There's certain things that this traditional education applies to, but they really have to see it and believe it in order to say, like, that makes sense for me to do.
I think there should also be room for change. Like, you're trying to figure this out in young kids, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what they cling to, I guess. That's hard to do too. Just think about a kid's mind changing all the time, but at least having an environment that can allow for that.
Yeah.
That for them to change their mind and just to help them grow within that.
And
so
try different things.
yeah,
Their
absolutely.
interests are going to change over time.
Yeah.
So instead of just sticking them in one
not,
path,
like
you said, they can diverge and go to something different if they want.
Yeah, everybody doesn't learn the same for sure.
What you guys are essentially saying is trial and error. Like, a lot of times when we leave high school, we go to college, we go and we jump to a bunch of different things, we try different majors, and then sometimes people like me, just drop out. But that I did trial and error when I was in college, when it cost me time and when it cost me money. And there's thousands of people that go through the same thing. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, that's true, because I went to school for nursing, but it's not something that I'm utilizing.
Right.
It's not because, I chose to be a stay-at-home mom, but it's because it wasn't an interest. It was something got pushed to doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I felt like I got pushed to go to college as well. Granted, I've never liked school. I'm not a school person. But I've always been a pretty smart person, I would say. I'll give me that. But going to college, I did feel lost. I kind of felt like I just did it to do it, but then that affected the effort that I put into it.
Right.
Again, I took breaks and I've got back into it. And also, the way the school's set up and the way that work is set up, jobs really want you to have the experience, but want you to have a degree, and it's like, it's like, it's got to be either or. You can't have a degree and experience all at the same time. So it's just it's a weird setup.
Well, nowadays, like with college education or whatever degrees you have, some places aren't even looking at it now. Some, like before, a master's degree was everything, or a bachelor's degree was everything, and now that's kind of been
It's
dropped.
like an associate.
It's like an associate's now. So we're pushing young people into a college, which there's nothing wrong with college at all, especially if you know exactly what you want to do, and you're like, if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, and there's things you have to do, it makes sense, But when you're pushing kids into an environment where they don't have a clue, I feel like that's where a lot of the students are failing. What are some things that, I know you mentioned a few things, what are some things that you wish you learned in school?
I wish that there was a huge emphasis on mental health in school. Because I feel like no one tells you that the biggest battle that you have is really like the one in your mind sometimes. Yeah, like
That's
just
good.
overcoming that and just building confidence in an individual. That changes your whole mindset on life. So I think that I really wish that was a huge emphasis on that.
Absolutely.
I think, like I said, a while ago, financial literacy. If they can teach you how to fill out your tax, the 1040, right? If they can teach you entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to be just stuck with going to college. Maybe you're somebody that doesn't really want to do that and you want to start your own business. For Logan, we already settled that after he gets his 12th grade education, before he goes to college, we're going to ask, do you want to establish a business? We'll back you. You have a year to do that, see if it's successful. Then afterwards, or at the same time, you can go take courses.
It would be so nice if schools, like you said, would at least introduce that concept to him, so that when he gets to 12th grade, he's like, I don't know if I want to have a business. I don't know nothing about a business. How do you even do that?
Right.
So you're like, I would think I'd be automatically discouraged from doing that. But if I at least had an idea, like the basics, like a good foundation, I'd be like, you know what, that actually sounds like something that would suit me. So if the school system could start doing that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think teaching kids that it's okay to fail, because we're so focused on getting 100%, getting A's, but you really don't learn much by doing well in school.
Right.
You learn from failures, and so if kids know at an early age that it's okay to mess up, to fail, to try and try again,
Right.
I think that goes a long way in learning too.
You get that in college. They say C's get degrees.
I think there's also a factor when it comes to that, like parents sometimes they live through their kids, and so like they don't want to be the parent that kind of says, don't go to college.
Right. That's true.
Well, what is so and so going to say? What are your grandparents going to say? So I think parents need to rethink their outlook. And be like
Their motivation for their kids.
Their motivation, yes.
Absolutely. Another big thing with education is environment. You look at prison, you look at the schools, and there's some similarities there as far as look wise. It's not conducive to creativity. So you got kids, you want kids to be successful, you want them to be thinking outside the box and thinking creatively, but they're in an environment where there is no creativity. It's just plain white walls. You're sitting in a row listening to one teacher. It really doesn't lend to the creative side to them. So what do you think about? What are your thoughts about that?
I know that they try to capture that in Montessori schools where they let there be a little more freedom.
Yeah.
But for me, I think if I could be like a hybrid of some structure, but also like have room for creativity, if they can capture the both of them,
Yeah.
then I think it just would again be more successful for kids. I mean, some kids don't even know to tap into that.
Right.
They don't have those resources at home to even, or that encouragement, those thought processes at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think a school should be that outlet for that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how it mirrors prison is your options are taken away. So we used to have music, wood shop, film. There's all these different courses, home ec that you could take, but now they just remove those things, and they're so limited now.
That's good.
It's kind of keep you in that same funnel, that same path.
Yeah.
That's good. One thing I look at is like Google headquarters, and I look at all these big tech companies, and they create their headquarters. They make it so creative, right? Because they want their employees to be in a good environment. They want them to be creative. They want them to be there at work and be fully invested. And it's like if they can think enough to do that for their employees, why aren't we, my vision is like, why aren't we seeing this for our students if we want to get that same type of result in education?
You see that for students in private schools. It's not.
Kind of.
I went on a tour to these private schools, and I saw that there were different ways that they would cater to kids who needed to let out some steam or that energy, but I don't see that really in public schools.
Absolutely. That's true.
There's just too many students, in the average public school classroom to a teacher. I mean,
Not enough resources.
Yeah. I know for I know for Metrolina, it was 15 to 20 student at most per teacher, but for a public school.
Like in California, it was like 40 to 1, so it's almost like 3 times as many to one teacher.
And now that I'm homeschooling him, I can appreciate the one-on-one because when he's writing, for instance, teaching him cursive writing, have to be there to make sure that he's doing it correctly.
Needs that attention.
You can't expect one person to do that for 40 kids.
Yeah, I seen when the pandemic happened, like my son's, I had to be there all the time. So I have a higher standard of things. So his work, his coloring, all this, everything was just absolutely an increase because
that time and that
I have that time.
attention.
So
It's necessary.
I only have 2 kids. I couldn't imagine doing 30. There's no way that they get that time from you.
Right.
Because they're trying to do it as efficiently as possible. How many kids can we? Sorry, excuse me. Bless you. How many kids can we graduate?
Right.
Seems
No child left
like it's
behind.
numbers.
Just get them out.
Seems like they're more worried about numbers.
It's not like how many kids really learned, and now can thrive in the world.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like with my own experience that, again, they're more worried about numbers and progress to be made or the progress that their school makes. My son was able to read before he was even in kindergarten. Why is it that on his report cards, I think it'll be like, oh, he's progressing. He's reading beyond his grade level.
Right.
But you're keeping it that way to show that, oh, there was progress made. No, you're holding my child back in the process. So I don't feel like it's really, you're really caring about the individual. You're caring about the system and how your school looks,
Right.
So
and some of the teachers they're forced into it.
yeah, I don't think it's a personal thing. I think it's just that's the standard of
The
the way it is.
system is just set up that
Yeah, I
way.
think that's the way the system is. So I don't think it's ideal.
And like Justin was saying, how big tech companies, they foster creativity. So we kind of got it backwards, right? We don't foster the creativity early on, but except now we're fostering it 20 years later. So if we start in the beginning, that creativity is already going to be there.
And I'm so happy that you guys are saying everything that you are saying because it just fits perfectly with the video that I'm going to show, the vision for 2023. And you'll see how all of that connects, and then we'll just discuss a little bit more about what we're actually doing in 2023. So let's go to that video. All right. So real quick, because I know we have to wrap up. What are when you watch that video, and scoot in a little bit so we can make sure you're still in frame. Is she in frame? Is she good? Okay. So so after watching that, what are your initial thoughts? And I'll just go around the table. What are your initial thoughts on what you just seen? Let's start with you.
It's a great idea.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. I'm looking at it, even me as an adult, be like, hey, can I go do that? But yeah, if it's something that it would interest me, I mean, kids, I think love that kind of stuff. I really gravitated toward the design thing, like making shoes. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, I want to make some shoes too. But yeah, I think it's a great setup.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I like the I own real estate program.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You know, and I love the facilities. Where are you guys planning to have the facility?
We're looking at a few buildings right now. We don't have one nailed down,
Okay.
but we're in that process trying to figure that piece out.
Cool.
So, but we're just, you know, it's a whole well-rounded approach to working with students.
Oh, watching the video made me really hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hopeful for the future. I can't wait for Lennox to be able to go and be a part of that.
Yeah.
So I believe it'll be there in time for him. So it just makes me hopeful. I love that it touches on everything that
Yeah.
we discussed that is important.
Perfectly. Everything that you guys were mentioning without seeing the video is like, those are the things that we're going to offer. But yeah, I'm super excited because we build that environment for them. We hope that when it is built, that a lot of other youth organizations and the school districts themselves, like we create a new standard of how education should be done. They'll look at that and say, we need to implement this into our schools because we see the impact that it's having on this group of students, you know what I mean? And so, like you said, I'm super hopeful. I'm hopeful that it's going to impact thousands of lives. I think that we can take it from where it is right now and then continue to duplicate it in different cities that need it the most, and also offer it into the school district. So I didn't get your opinion. What did you think about the video? Yeah? All right, we're doing it then. So I just want to say thank you guys for just taking time out just to talk about, you know, what we can do to make our schools better. You know, sharing the vision, sharing, you know, the hope that we're bringing to the community. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.